Hey everyone, I'm so glad that y'all are all at this meeting this afternoon. First, I would like to begin by just introducing myself. My name is Miranda Monroe. I was born and raised right here in Albertville, Alabama. I graduated from Albertville High School in 2017. While I was in school here, I was very active. I played volleyball, soccer, basketball. I was a member of SGA and many other clubs. After I graduated, I went to Snead State Community College right here in our own county. I graduated with my associate's degree in a year and a half and then transferred to the University of North Alabama in Florence, Alabama. I graduated with a bachelor's in elementary education in 2021. Now, I just got done with my first year of teaching back here at Albertville Elementary School, where I taught third grade and was also a volleyball coach at the high school. I'm set to graduate with my master's degree from the University of West Alabama in just 2 short weeks. As you can tell, I'm a very active member in this community, and this is why I'm here today pushing for a change. Before I begin, though, I would like to again thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy lives to come be a member of our audience tonight. I know that you would all like to see a change in our schools that will benefit all of the students. Lastly, I would like to say a huge thank you to the members of our audience that take time to volunteer within our schools or volunteer to work ball games at our new and beautiful Parks and Rec Center that I know everyone here is so proud of, businesses that sponsor the sports that go on there, and so much more. Now, I could go on and on and on about how grateful I am for each of you, but just know that this could not happen without your support. With all of that being said, I'll get to the purpose of this meeting, which is to push for smaller classroom sizes. This year, I personally had 22 students in my classroom, but I know several teachers that had 23. If you're here, I'm sure that you've seen the flyers around town where I emphasize that this number needs to be greatly reduced in order to give our children the best education that we can. It's so hard to focus on each individual student when there are so many of them in one classroom and only one teacher. We need to push to reduce this size to around 15 to 18 students per classroom so that each have the highest opportunity for success. So I kind of like to give y'all a timeline for this meeting. Up next, I'm going to introduce our lovely panel up here. Each of them are prepared to speak for about 5 minutes, and then after each person is done, there'll be an additional 5 minutes for them to answer any questions that you have. And then after the final panelist has done speaking and answering all their questions, there'll be an additional 10 minutes for any overall questions, concerns, or comments that y'all have that may have arose. Of course, after the meeting has ended, anyone and everyone is welcome to stay and do a follow-up with me or any of the panelists up here, meet them one-on-one, and some refreshments will be provided from the Albertville Home Bakery, which I know everyone here loves. So now that all of that is covered, I'll introduce the panelists up here with me. First, we have a fellow educator within the Albertville school system, Miss Erin Lane. She is currently a 4th grade ELA teacher, and I had the privilege of working with her last year in 3rd grade, and she is just wonderful. If anyone's gotten the chance to meet her, I'm sure they would all say the same. She has been an educator for 16 years, all of which have been right here in the Albertville school system. She has 2 daughters that also go to school in Albertville, one at the middle school and one at the high school. Up next, we have Mr. Lee Fleming, who is a youth pastor within the Albertville community. He's a member of the Solitude Baptist Church and also leads all of the student ministry worship within our high school. So he's also very active. You see him on the sidelines at football games. You'll see him at some SGA meetings speaking. So he's just a wonderful asset to our community. Up next, we have Miss Sherry Hill. She works at the Albertville Board of Education and handles all of the finances. She has been in this position for 9 years, so she's seen a lot of changes, is very good at adapting, rolling with the punches, so we're so glad that she's joined us today. And last, we have Mr. Matt West, who is the vice principal at Albertville Middle School. He has worked at the middle school for 12 years now. Before that, he was a science teacher at the high school. He has been a soccer coach before, so he's also been very active, and we're glad that he is up here joining us today. So our special guest speaker for tonight is that very own Albertville City Schools Superintendent, Mr. Mike Wells. Let's all give a round of applause for him showing up. He was offered the position of superintendent at Albertville City Schools in 2020, receiving a 4-1 vote from the Albertville City Board of Education to secure his job. He has an educational background spanning over 24 years and was the principal at Charles Henderson High School before joining us here. Now, if you've had the pleasure of meeting him before, then you are just as excited as I am that he's here with us tonight. He has led our school system through many trying times, including COVID, and he is also a great asset to our community. Now, let's move on to the main concern right now, which is the size of our classrooms. I personally wrote a letter to the Secretary of Education mentioning that even after the desk 6 feet apart mandate was lifted, I still found a common occurrence throughout the year, struggling to meet all the needs of my diverse students. This issue is bigger than just the actual classroom layout. After research and talking with several fellow educators, I found that I was not the only one struggling with this. Albertville Elementary School has a high population of EL students, and it is very difficult to give them all the attention when they need when there are so many other students to look after. These students need more one-on-one time, and it is doing them a disservice by putting them in a classroom with so many other students. More money will need to be provided in order for this to go through, but the amount will depend on the location and population differing from each school within our school system. I firmly believe that this money and reform would help both educators and students within Albertville school system. So now turning to my panel, there are several questions relating to this that I have prepared for y'all. Now these questions have already been prepared and turned into me by members in our community. So first I would like to direct this question to Ms. Lang. What is the largest number of students that you've had in a class and the smallest number? Please compare these years and tell us how you had to make adjustments when there were more students to consider. Now this one is directly for Ms. Lang because she has been within the school system for so long, and she will be able to speak on this and pull from direct evidence. Our next question is for Ms. Sherry Hill. Now, what funding could we petition for to have support for this change to occur? I know you handle all finances. You're very good at answering those questions. The people just would like to know what are the options here. What can we do to get that additional support through finance to have smaller classroom sizes? The third question is for Vice Principal, Mr. Matt West, who once again is a vice principal at the middle school here in Albertville Elementary. Does it put more stress on administrators to aid teachers when they have 20 plus students in a classroom? And what support have y'all provided for these teachers? Moving on to question number 4. Now this can be for anyone on the panel to answer, or each person can have their own time to answer if there's something they would like to add. But it is, all of you have students that have went through or are currently going through the Albertville City School System. So from a parent's point of view, have y'all noticed this concern that's being brought up tonight? If so, has it put more of a burden on you at home to help your child with their education? And number 5, finally, what are some of the benefits that y'all could see arising from a reduced classroom size? Please elaborate on each of those. So, thank you so much again all for coming. This will conclude our meeting. Please stick around for meet and greet and refreshments, as I mentioned earlier. Once again, I know I said it a million times and I'll say it a million more. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that we can all work together to push for this change to help all the students in our school system. Goodbye, y'all.